always warned that the big one's coming.
I didn't think it would be, such a big devastation.
The big one goes to the left, it goes to the right.
Sometimes it seems as though you get sort of desensitized.
This false sense of security, thinking that no matter what happens, you'll be okay.
We have hurricanes, thunderstorms, all the time.
Some way, somehow, the storm would change course and the city would be spared, be spared, be spared.
Never, ever, ever could I have imagined this kind of catastrophe to have happened.
I was completely shocked, really.
Instead of a week of relaxing at the beach, over 250 Howard University students headed towards hurricane-stricken New Orleans.
Some of our students have taken this opportunity not to go for where it's sun and fun is the order of the day, but to go into communities and try to do some work. And in this regard, they spent their spring break that week in New Orleans, and we're very, very excited and pleased with what they did, the attention that it deservedly received, and the good work that they did.
About 10 years ago, the university, through the chapel, created an alternative spring break program. It's an opportunity for students to use their spring break in very positive ways, serving the community, and also having the opportunity to learn about different cultures and having life experiences that will benefit them in their chosen careers.
After hearing about the storm and the people and the families that were affected by the storm, when I found out that that's where we were going, I was so excited because I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. I knew that this was my opportunity to get outside of myself and to go help someone else.
I wanted to go down there. Whenever I was going to get a chance, I was going to go down there and do something. Go down there, check on my friends, buy them some new things, whatever I could do. But when this whole effort to help with the houses, I knew that was what I was supposed to do.
What I really want to do all the time is help my people. So I was like, this is an opportunity to go down there and help.
We're supposed to help those in need, and there are so many people, African Americans, minorities, who need help, who don't have help, and who won't be helped until people like us decide to go and help them.
Well, a lot of Howard students want to do something to help out. They want to go down this, during spring break, they just didn't know how. And once some other law students had learned about the term of spring break, I think I just got really involved because it was home, it was personal, and I wanted to make sure that it was done right. My role, basically with the law school, was helping to organize the volunteers, making sure they understood what was happening from main campus in terms of the logistics, the plane, the dates, what you needed to bring, what we would be doing. Kept them in the loop, and also made sure I was a good liaison between the law school and main campus as to what the law students needed, what they were going to do, and who was coming. I'm from New Orleans. When the storm came, I encouraged my parents to evacuate as soon as possible. They waited till the last minute, of course, but they did leave. But our home was pretty damaged.
Luckily, the majority of my family has moved out. We're not really connected to New Orleans as much as we were before. But I have a lot of friends that go there, college friends who are still there.
I couldn't talk to my family. All the phone lines in Louisiana were jammed. So I didn't speak to anybody from my family for about the first 2 or 3 days.
I wasn't in class. I was on the phone day, sun up, sundown. I stayed on the news. I was very worried.
I was glued to the internet. I slept maybe 2 or 3 hours a night, constantly getting updates, constantly watching live broadcasts from CNN and from other news networks about what was happening.
But what happened next was beyond belief. Howard University was in the vanguard of those offering help. It began its relief efforts right after Katrina struck.
Well, we've tried to do a number of things here at Howard University to respond to this national tragedy, which was Hurricane Katrina. The first thing we've tried to do is to accommodate the displaced students themselves. We've admitted, first semester we admitted about 115 students, and of that number, more than 40 remain at Howard this spring semester, the second semester. So we try to reach out to the students first. The second thing we tried to do was, in our own way, raise dollars and goods and some other resources for the victims who were still in the New Orleans area, many in the New Orleans area, others in Mississippi and Alabama, and those who made their way to Baton Rouge and to Houston and other cities of refuge.
Well, when I found out that we had the opportunity to head to New Orleans, I was extremely excited. It was almost my duty. I didn't see it as a choice, really. I had to go.
This was the one that was the most meaningful, so that's why I decided to go.
Over 250 students boarded 4 buses and headed towards New Orleans.
Going, it was about 23 hours. It was supposed to be 18, but we got stuck in traffic for like 2 hours. It was not fun at all. Well, everyone was happy at first. We just kept watching movie after movie, and people were talking and getting to know each other and stuff. But you know, after a while, you just go to sleep and try to think about what's going to happen when you get there.
When they arrived, students found that things were a lot worse than they had expected.
My first reaction, well, let me back up. I was in the Army for 4 years, and my last year in the Army I deployed to Iraq. That was kind of my swan song in the Army. And when I was in Iraq, I saw a lot of death and destruction. And I saw towns which were devastated like parts of New Orleans were.
It just seemed as though the storm came yesterday.
It just seemed devastating to me. There were no birds.
It was almost like a scene from a movie or something. You just couldn't believe that this was actually where people lived because things were so bad.
It was very surreal because to see a ghost town, really.
And it's so dead. And that was the first thing that just really just hit home for me. Like, this city is not what I know.
I never imagined that my own city would suffer such destruction that looked really like it was literally a war zone. So walking through neighborhoods where destroyed buildings and homes just totally wrecked them, it looked as if nothing had been touched since the wars we see it 6-7 months ago.
There's still so much to be done. There's still so many houses and homes that are destroyed and people lost.
You literally have 250,000 people still displaced. It's the largest population displacement since the Civil War, over 140 years ago. And there's no end in sight. In terms of the recovery, in terms of when these people will be able to come back, there are issues both political, economic, as well as just simple day-to-day living that have to be addressed. If people aren't going to be able to afford a contractor, if FEMA or other agencies won't be able to rebuild the homes, then Howard students and other schools will come down and rebuild the homes, and they'll make it happen.
Howard University students found themselves sharing the same accommodations as some of the Hurricane Katrina victims.
But to actually be in the tents ourselves, to actually be sleeping in the same camp as residents, to have to use portable showers and toilets and sort of be displaced, that experience helped us gain a better understanding of what those who are affected by the storm, what they're going through.
250 students who came down were split up. Some went to the Home of Nation out in Raceland, Louisiana. Others were uptown New Orleans working with what's called the MAC school. It's a consolidated school of a lot of students from middle school to high school. And then the lion's share of students worked with Habitat for Humanity in a town called Chalmette, right over the line from New Orleans. Most of the students stayed in a tent city in Chalmette.
When we got there, it turned out we were at St. Bernard Parish.
That was a suburb area. That's where FEMA was helping out most.
Students initially were to work in the St. Bernard's Parish, but soon decided to go into the 9th Ward.
And the plan was to stay there for the whole time and help gut houses in St. Bernard Parish.
Once the students found out that where we were we weren't really where the help was needed the most. They came to me, and I remember a couple students said, you know what, we're not in the right area. We thought that we were going to come down here, we were going to work with our people to where the people need help the most. I went to our leader, Dean Richardson, and Dean, he felt their hearts, and we actually went and talked to the FEMA, or to the Habitat for Humanity advisors there, and through some sort of miracle, we worked it out so that we could go into the 9th Ward. And they were actually very happy to have us go, because it's my understanding that they couldn't, for some reason, they couldn't go.
New Orleans' 9th Ward saw the most devastation due to Hurricane Katrina.
Well, we really got a sense of how they're living, how people who were affected by the storm, exactly what they have to endure. And I believe that sort of softened our hearts just to know that, or to experience for ourselves, you know, more than just TV, more than just the front page of the newspaper.
You know, but it's been 40 years since we really had a hurricane. And most of the people you talk to, they left with 3 days worth of clothes, because we thought we just gonna go on a vacation and come back home. Who thought? But our lives changed on one weekend.
It's a big production. I mean, you have to realize that a lot of these homes, not only were the flood waters maybe 4 feet to 8 feet to 10 feet in the house, but once the water receded, these homes were locked up basically in a greenhouse for weeks before the city allowed them to come back. So the mold just went up the walls and went all through the walls, and this black mold is actually harmful to your health. So you have to wear a protective suit to cover your clothes so that none of the mold gets on your clothes and can spread to you.
My group actually worked on houses all the time. We worked on houses in the lower 9th Ward all 4 work days. Some young ladies from WHUT University came and assisted us in gutting out a house, and they were nice. We welcomed them right on in, and they were ready to work, and they were surprised that we were able to do so much. In my group, we did 2 houses in 4 days, and it was 10 young ladies who did the first house, and on the next day our group got split in half, and we had about 6 young ladies with the help of 1 man.
You have to gear up as if you're working on this dangerous site, which it is in a lot of ways. It's a hazardous material site. It's a biohazard site.
I hated what we wore because it was hot, but we were being covered. We had to be covered at the same time.
We had to completely suit up with Tyvek suits.
Jeans.
Work boots.
Boots that came up to our knees.
These respirator masks.
And we had goggles.
And a hard hat and gloves, of course.
Those dang gloves, I hated those gloves.
And it got really hot.
Humid.
You were doing hard work, moving couches, molded couches, and flooded mattresses and refrigerators and ovens. And you had all this stuff on, and this house that smelled horrible, and it got really hot in the suit.
And it's really hard to get a lot of work done. And when people are wearing all these suits, these hazmat suits to go into homes, under normal circumstances with temperatures would range in the 80s or maybe the 90s with 100% humidity, it could be really unbearable.
A little uncomfortable, but it made you that much more motivated to work.
The students began gutting homes and residences. Along the way, they met some of the people most affected by Hurricane Katrina.
Once you do meet the homeowner, the home comes alive, because I remember one instance when the homeowner came and she began to explain to us what the meaning was and the value to some of the things that we were tearing out. And we're literally taking her life out of her home and throwing it on the side of the street. And as she began to tell us, how hard she worked for this, and how important she was to the community, then the passion to work harder became stronger. Now I had to help this lady because there was no one else to help her. There was no one else to give her, to assist her, and we were all that they had.
I lost everything, down to the cars in the yard, the furniture, everything. I had about 22 feet of water. Without them, I don't know how a lot of us will make it.
We lost our home, and my uncle, he died in the storm. And my dad got sick from the storm. I am 12 years old. I am in the 7th grade here at the Mac School. Their presence here makes us feel more comfortable because we're with people around our age, even though they might a little bit older. They're college students, they're young, and they understand the young people.
I think it's beautiful that Howard University students came and they had the feeling, you know, to come and see the need and help. That in itself is very, very good. It's human. And it's, you know, it's what the Lord asked us to do, help each other.
I've been in that house for 55 years. It's been a home to me. Not been a house, it's been a home. And I would like to get back in it and really working and helping me. And pretty soon probably will be there.
Everyone we talked to was just so happy that we were down there. I think there's a sense that you've been kind of abandoned by the nation at large for a lot of New Orleanians, in that there was a lot of concern at first when the storm first hit, but now attention's shifting elsewhere, and so is the effort to help people out.
They were just like, I thought they forgot about us.
To see so many students come down, so many young people willing to help out and do whatever it took to help them get back on their feet, meant a lot to the residents.
We didn't forget about you.
We entered a restaurant, a colleague and I, just to have a cup of coffee, and the waitress, a white woman, asked us why we were in New Orleans, and we told her that we brought 250 students to help in the relief efforts, and she started to cry. And she said to us that she thought that everyone had forgotten about them.
We had the opportunity to hear from a guy who came up and spoke to us. We were gathered around a school in New Orleans getting ready to work, and this random guy just sort of showed up, and he was very passionate, he was very angry, and he began to tell us a little bit about what he had been through, and he was telling us about how his family, some of his family is still lost, and how they didn't care about him, and how, you know, FEMA and the administration and the government didn't do anything, how babies were in the water, how families and alligators were eating people in the water. He was there, actually. He was on top of his roof, and he lost everything, and he gave up hope. He got to the point where he started to cry, and he kept on saying, you know, y'all do something, because I can't do it anymore. And
well, what we gonna do about it, brother?
all then we can do about it? Let Jesus handle it.
That hit us hard.
These students, who had come to Howard to prepare for careers in law, science, and medicine, now found that even their most basic skills were desperately needed. And their compassion seemed to matter most.
Mrs. Mary Honore. She's 81 years old. She'll be 82 in June. She's one of the most sweetest ladies I have ever met in my life. When we drove up to her house, she was sitting outside on her driveway, waiting for us, very calm and collected. Then we went into our house and, we started to bring the heavy furniture out and things like that. She got up from her seat. She went inside of that house and started helping us. 81 years old, trying to pick up big pieces of furniture and cleaning out and tearing down walls and things like that. And she was emotional only one time throughout the entire process. And that was when I had her speak to a young lady from Howard University on camera.
We all need help. I know I need help because I didn't have no one to help me.
The only time she ever showed any emotion. I look to that woman as a rock. She's so strong. She's gone through a whole lot. That was her second hurricane she survived. The second one, the first one, we saw the line where the water hit on her lumber from her house. strong woman. She lost her husband. She was so grateful that we came down to help.
I'm glad somebody's helping.
And she was actually saying, you know, we all need help. And I'm just so grateful that these young ladies came down here to help me, because we'll all need help one day. And she lost everything. And I told her, we're here, we love you. You gave us a chance to just touch your life. You've made my life that much better and that much more meaningful. Just to know that at 81, I can still put my life back together again. Wonderful lady.
Even though they came to change the landscapes, what they didn't realize is how they themselves would be changed.
You go out to spring break and you party, you vacation somewhere, you have some memories for what you did during the week. You go out to New Orleans or to the Gulf Coast and you help rebuild homes and rebuild lives. That's something that's going to stay with those people for the rest of their lives.
I, along with many of the students, we talked about how difficult the experience had been to come back and to see such devastation and to be so aware of how fleeting life can be and how quickly our possessions can be taken away, and how important it is to really reach out and help people. There was this sense that, you know, we have to do something, that as students, as the members of the Howard community, that we truly have an obligation to help those who were devastated by Katrina, and as I often say, devastated by Katrina and also by neglect.
It's nothing compared to what those people went through. I have nothing to complain about. And it made me understand how the world really works and how lucky I was and blessed to have all that I have.
I learned now that it's hard to complain when you know for a fact that there's somebody out there worse off than you are. Somebody out there who doesn't have a roof over their head or who doesn't have their home anymore. I always have a home to go to. My clothes are still intact. Everything I own is still there. And just the little things, to appreciate the little things, because sometimes you get so caught up in your own life that you don't really take the time to consider how really fortunate you are.
After I went down there and just helped one person or just helped two people, it's just so much that we can do as a campus, so much that we can do as a people if we all just take one day out of our lives to go and help someone in need. And that's my goal. That if nothing else, I can get as many people as I can to go and just help one person, one person.
Joy that they were able to do something, and also real concern, in some cases deep sadness, as to how much remains to be done. So it was a great feeling for me, and a feeling of tremendous pride for our young people here at Howard University, who stepped up again, who matched their actions with my rhetoric. And they've made me and my generation awfully, awfully proud of them.